Hello and welcome back to our Revit MEP 2008 CAD clips on my first RME Revit MEP HVAC project. This is one of the few lessons that we will, as we're following our tutorial guidelines here, we're going to follow this one fairly closely. We're working our way through these tutorials and elaborating and etc. But using the data sets provided here in Revit MEP, and we're talking about here using a schedule as an air system design tool is basically the lesson. And most often you'll find I veer off of the lessons and then you can use this as additional information. However, this is one of the ones where I'm going to do it pretty much in order because it's a really good tutorial. And basically what we do is we create a schedule of all the air terminals in this building, and then with that schedule we can alter the airflow CFM units either in the schedule and have them update in the floor plan or on the model and vice versa. So it's an interactive way of designing. So using a schedule as a design tool for our air system. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do this in two parts because it's a fairly lengthy lesson. Once again, there's all the setup up front, and then in the very end, at the end of the lesson, you finally actually use the schedule as a design tool. But that's kind of the last lesson. So we're going to break this up into two parts and kind of give you some extra information. So we're going to start off here and we'll just look at the data set that they're suggesting. So we're going to open up a file, air system schedules. So I'm just going to minimize that, and then I'm going to go up and hit my open button. And inside of open, I'm going to go down to my training files down here. And then I'm going to go to my Imperial, in this case I'm using, sort, metric, sort by name again, and I want air system schedule. There it is, and then I hit open. So that file opens up. Points from the last lesson. So one of the things I forgot to point out here from the previous lesson is when you pick on an air terminal and then you go into the properties of that object, inside of here you can see the directional airflow of top, right, and bottom. Well, that's these settings over here. I'm just going to move this in a bit up, so we can turn these off if we want to change our airflow in that particular terminal. So that was just something that I neglected to mention in the last lesson. The other thing I should always say is when we open up the files that we're in over here, air system schedule, we should always do a save as and save it as a different name so we don't alter the original. Okay, so now we can just kind of get started with our lesson. So the first thing that they want us to do is to define a schedule type, create a schedule type. So if you're following along in the tutorial, so we go up to here and we can say view, new, schedule of quantities, or we can go to our view tab over here on the design bar and say schedule quantities. A lot of the options up here are also down in the design bar. So schedule, quick and easy. And now what do I want to schedule? Well, ultimately I'm scheduling the air terminals in this case. But I'm also going to gather information about the rooms that the terminals are associated to. Okay, the name of the schedule, this is just the name, the title at the top, okay, and the phase is new construction. We don't have to worry about that. Schedule building components, not scheduling keys. So this is what we use probably 95% of the time. So notice all the categories. We keep seeing category, doors, if you want to schedule, right now it's only showing MEP categories. If I say show all categories now, I'm going to see, I can schedule doors, windows, gutters, furniture, you name it. Any category that we have, we've talked about categories, you can create a schedule. In this particular case, we're going to schedule air terminals. So again, the displaying of MEP or all categories, disciplines in here. So air terminals. And then all I have to do is hit OK. And then it bumps me into, okay, I'm going to create a schedule of all the air terminals. What do I want to know about the air terminals? Well, I want to know the flow. And I can double click this or I can hit add. I can hit add, I can remove it. Notice when I remove it, it goes back into the pile. If I double click on it, it removes itself from here, places it over here. So far about air terminals, all I have is the flow of the terminal. Okay, but the air terminals are also associated to the rooms that we place them in. So watch what I can do here. Select an available field from, and I can say also I want to, in my schedule, I want to know room information. Okay, aha. Well, these are all the different things that you can schedule about rooms. Okay, so if we look at our help menu, we can see, well, we want to first thing we want to do is add in one called room actual supply airflow. Okay, room actual supply airflow. We add that in. Then I want room calculated supply airflow. Okay, and we'll tell you what that actually is. Okay, we can hit add or we can double click it. Okay, the next one I want to know is the room name. I want to know the room name. Double click. Room number. Double click. Okay, now I can change the order of these. Well, I want room name up, so I'm going to move that up. Okay, then I want the room number. Then I want the room name. Okay, then I want the flow. Then I want the actual. And then I want the calculated down at the bottom. Okay, so I can sort those accordingly. Okay, and now I'm going to create another value. I can hit OK right now and it'll create my schedule, and there's the schedule so far. Okay, and the schedules are sorted down in here under schedules, air terminal schedule. If I double click, that's the view I'm in. I can go back to my 1 ceiling mechanical or my 2 mechanical view or my air terminal. I can take that and drag it to a sheet. Right click on here and say new sheet. Yes, I'm going to make a new sheet. Hit OK. And then I can take that schedule and I can drag that down to my sheet. And then in doing so, I can also click on there and you can stretch these and do all kinds of neat stuff. I can split that up if I want and move these around, etc. Okay, so that's my schedule so far. Okay, room number, room name, the flow. Okay, the actual room supply airflow, which is what's in that room number, and then the calculated supply. We'll talk about how that is getting that information. And the first thing I notice is that it's not sorting correctly. Right now, what I want to do is it's right now, I'm not sure what it's sorting by, but I want it to sort by room number because each one of these is a terminal. Okay, and I want all the terminals in room number 1 grouped together, and you can see that they're not all being sorted by that. So I'm going to right click on this here on the terminal schedule, and I'm going to go to the properties. That's how you go back in and edit that. So inside of here, it really doesn't matter which one of these I click because they're all going to go in the same dialog box. But I can go back to fields. Once I'm inside of there, filter, sorting, format, appearance. Okay, that's these filters, sorting, appearance. So I can go formatting. Okay, oh, I'm in sorting. Now I'm going to say sort by room number. That's all I want. And then I can say ascending, and then I can say then sort by room name or whatever I want. Okay, I'm just going to not sort only by room number. Okay, I could maybe go sort by flow ascending, I suppose, after the fact. So I hit OK, and I hit OK, and the first thing I'll notice is that now my schedule is grouping. These are all individual terminals, and I could probably put a mark in there as well. So there's my schedule so far. Now I'm going to add in another column over here, and what it's going to do is it's going to compare some numbers. First of all, let's talk about these. The flow is the terminal. If I go to room number 1 and I go to one of the terminals, we should go to one that has less. Room number 1 and room number 2 are big rooms. Room number 3, 4, and 5 only have one terminal in each, and they're all pushing out 325 CFMs. Okay. Inside of there, and then there's a number for the actual, okay, and then there's this calculated, and the calculated is the one that was created when we did our load calculations. When we went to mechanical and we went into here and we clicked on heating and cooling loads, okay, it created a report which is down here. Okay, and in that report, if we read that report, it'll say room number 1, the calculated CFMs, not room number 1, that's a big one, but room number 3 is 388 CFMs. See, room number 1 and 2 are big rooms with 4,000. And that's why there's 15 different terminals in each one of these. If I click on here, you'll see that, more information because it's a bigger room. So I'm going to go back to my room office number 3. Note the 388. Office number 4, 415. Office number 5, 425. These numbers were assigned when we did our heating and loading calculations with that IES software. Okay, and it was applied to the room. So that room knows that number, that 425. And we can show you by going into, for instance, level 1 mechanical. And then I'll go over here, and if I hover over this is room office number 3. If I click on room number 3 and I go to the properties of it, you'll notice down in mechanical it says specified airflow is 388. Okay, and the calculated is 388, but the actual is the 325. The actual is the terminal. Okay, the calculated is the 388, and then that's what's specified. So these are the two numbers. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another field in my schedule, and what it's going to do is it's going to subtract this number from this number, and then it's going to come up with the resultant number. Okay, and then in our part 2 we're going to color code that so that if it's not within a certain range, it's going to flag that so we'll know. So we can play with the numbers of the terminal, and as we get closer to what is our calculated supply from our heating and loading calculations, as this number nears this, the field in the schedule will change colors, notifying us that it's within the range. So if we click on this terminal, we'll see there's our 325, right? If we go to this one and we click on the terminal, it's 325. Watch, I'll change that to say 328, and then, 328. I'm having a hard time doing 3, 2, 8. Okay, and then click out. Now if I click on that room and I go to the properties, look what it's going to tell me. It's going to say it calculated is 415, actual is 328. Well, the calculated is back on our report. Okay, room number 4, there's that 415 right there. Okay, back to my level 1. If I click on this and go to there's the 415. Okay, and then there's the 328, read-only numbers. Now what I'm going to do in my schedule, okay, I'm going to go back to this schedule here, double click, I'm going to add another column inside of here. Okay, there's the terminal, there's the room actual that was showing in the properties, and there's the calculated from our, notice these are big because this is a big room. These are each one of these is an air terminal. Okay, remember that. So now let's add another column. Right click, go into the properties. I'm going to go into fields. I'm going to add another column. It's going to be a calculated value. Calculated value. And what is it going to be? Is it going to be a percentage type value or a formula? It's going to be a formula. And what's the discipline? Well, the discipline is HVAC. And the type is going to be airflow. Okay, and that's in your tutorial notes from up in your help menu. Okay, and the formula, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. We need to specify room actual supply minus room calculated supply. We need to put this text in exactly as is, every space, capitals are sensitive, everything. So it's kind of funny that you need to do that. So what we're going to do is, watch, I'm going to go actually to my help menu, get sneaky here, and I'm going to scroll down to that part of the lesson. This is what I need to do. This is what we're doing, create a calculated value. Enter this, room semicolon actual supply minus the room calculated supply. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to go Control C on my keyboard. Copy that that's a formula, that's a minus. Okay, Control C on the keyboard. I'm going to go back to here, Control V. Perfect. The name of it is going to be check supply air flow. If we go by the book, airflow. Now watch, hit OK. There's my new column that's being added in. So I hit OK, and there's my revised schedule. Now what it's doing is it's taking, and it's easier to look at one that only has one terminal. Let's look at office number 6. 325 is the terminal, 374 was our calculated load, therefore it's out by minus 49. So it's 49 CFMs short. So I need to take this number and I need to bump that up to be, 49.50 more, so I can say, 374. Hit enter and I'll be dead on. It's minus 0. Okay, so that one worked, and then so now we're gonna taper off on this part 1 of the lesson. We'll come back and we will tile our floor plan beside our schedule, and we'll start to color code this field inside of here and work with that, and ultimately use this schedule as a design tool. So tune back in for part 2 of this lesson.